An old homeless woman kept lurking outside of my house. I have always been a bargain shopper. You know, buy one get one free, 75% off. And hell, my ex-girlfriend used to tell everyone that my middle name was Clearance, because I would, and still do, hit the clearance rack every chance I get. My friends call me cheap. But, the people at the discount stores love me. I keep them in business. I also hit as many actual yard sales, on the weekends, that I possibly can, if it doesn't interfere with my work schedule. You see, it all started at the tender age of 15, when my stepmother, God rest her soul, introduced me to the wonderful world of Goodwill and Salvation Army. They're basically big yard sale stores, and it's always hit or miss. I mean, sometimes you find some really good stuff in there, but sometimes, it's just crap. No, 95% of the time, I buy things that are marked down for quick sale, used, or slightly damaged. The place I just moved out of, I furnished that whole entire place with used furniture I bought at Toby's Discount Furniture. It cost me less than $200 to do so. It was a mobile home that I bought used as well, in case you were wondering. I recently found several Facebook pages that give stuff away for free. Used and free are my two favorite words. I like free better though. Now, although I am a bargain shopper, there are a few things I will not buy used. Socks and underwear are number one on the list. I mean, used underwear? Yuck. That's just gross. Let's see. Shoes. I don't want anybody's foot fungus. Then there's mattresses and box springs. Who knows what kind of, well, excretions you would find on a used mattress, and besides, bed bugs are not meant to be kept as pets. No, there are a few other things as well. Anyway, I buy all my toiletries new. You know, shampoo, conditioner, shaving cream, razors, things like that. My car is used. My clothes are used, well, except the items I stated earlier. My furniture is used. And the house I just bought a few days ago was not only used, but it was listed at an extremely low price. Which leads me to my story. After 7 years of busting my hump, doing everything that I possibly could, to prove to the funeral director that I had what it took to be his assistant, I finally got promoted, after the old assistant moved to Hollywood to pursue his lifelong dream of becoming a boom operator. You know, the guy that holds the microphone above the actors' heads. Anyway, I did things like volunteering to pick up the bodies, washing the hearse, and trying out all the caskets to make sure they were comfortable enough. That kind of stuff. Nah, I'm just kidding. I actually did those things, but that's not what got me promoted. I assisted with a few cremations, volunteered to help guests and family members to the services, and even helped plan a few. Now, we get a lot of business thanks to Barnaby's next door. You know, that old creepy grocery store in town. Maybe you've heard of it. No. Oh, okay, moving on. Anyway, the promotion came with a huge pay raise. I went from $13 an hour part-time, to $23 an hour full-time. Now, I was getting tired of living in a cramped little mobile home, and decided that since I was making decent money now, I would try and buy a house. So, on Tuesday, my next day off, you see, I don't get many of those, especially in this town. Anyway, I stopped by Sellrite Real Estate Agency, walked in, and was approached by a really nice guy named David. "Hi, I'm David," he said, extending his hand to me. I extended mine, and shook his hand. "Are you looking to buy a house?" he asked. Yes, I am," I replied. Before I could even tell him about what I was looking for, he suggested I check out their foreclosure listings. Now, I'm pretty sure that real estate agents work on commission. I mean, the higher the price of the house, the higher the commission, right? Well, I guess David was more concerned about pleasing the client than making money. Anyway, he then walked back to his desk, and motioned for me to follow. I passed a really attractive older woman on my left, and a guy on my right, that reminded me of Dinozo from NCIS. I loved that show. Well, I did, until Abby left. Anyway, we got to his desk. He sat down behind it, while I sat down in front of it. He then picked up a manila folder from off the top of the desk, and handed it to me. "If you're looking for a great deal, this is the way to go, my friend," he said. "I am always looking for a great deal," I replied laughingly. I then opened the folder. On the first few pages, there were pictures of really old rundown houses. They were extremely cheap. It'll cost me more money to fix it up than I would even pay for it, I thought. So, that's not really a good deal. I was thinking about just handing the folder back to him, but decided to check out one more house. I flipped the page, and then I saw it. It was everything I ever wanted in a house. It was a 2-story house, painted forest green, and trimmed in white. It had 3 bedrooms, with 2.5 baths, a living area, a kitchen, a dining area, and a laundry room, as well as a front and back porch, and a garage, positioned on a half-acre corner lot. The yard was very well maintained, and the house looked to be in very good condition. The price listed was extremely low, under $10,000 low. Now, any rational person would have looked at the price and thought, for it to be that low, even in foreclosure, something must be wrong with the place, right? But not me. All I thought was, this is a good deal, and it was a good deal, just not a good idea, for which I found out later on. Can I see this place? I asked David, opening the folder, turning it around, and tossing it on his desk right in front of him. Absolutely. He said, we just got that listing from the bank today. Let me get my coat, and we'll be on our way. He grabbed his coat from the hook behind his desk, smiled, and said, you ready? As ready as I'll ever be, I replied. We walked out to his car, got in, and drove to the house. It was the last house on the left, on the corner of Chestnut Street and Elm Street. Anyway, we pulled in the driveway. The house was even better looking in person. Here we are, David said, turning off the car. I looked to my right, and saw an old woman, wrapped in a blanket, sitting on the sidewalk, underneath a stop sign. We got out of the car, and began walking up to the house. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw the old woman stand up, turn around, and stare directly at us. She wore old dingy jeans, an old ratty-looking gray shirt, the blanket, sandals, and her gray hair was matted to her head. What's up with the old lady on the corner? I asked David, a little concerned. I don't know, he replied. I've never seen her before. Huh, I said to myself, turning my head, and waving at her. She did not wave back. She just stood there, staring. We got to the house, walked up the steps, and onto the porch. David put the key in the lock, turned it, and opened the door. After you, he said, moving his left arm in a presenting fashion. I looked back to the corner, and the old woman was gone. Where'd she go? I thought. After you, David said again. Oh, I'm sorry, I replied, and walked into the house. The interior of the house was just as nice as the exterior. Have a look around, and we can talk when you're done, David said. Is all the furniture included? I asked. Yes, this is an as-is, cash-only listing, he replied. Cash only. I thought, I have a couple thousand saved up, maybe I can borrow the rest, and if I can't, I still want to check this place out. I then spent the next half hour checking out every nook and cranny of the place, including the attic, but not the basement, or the garage. Basements just creep me out. They're cold, wet, and 9 times out of 10, they're infested with spiders, and what's the big deal about a garage? Anyway, David waited in the kitchen. The house was amazing. I came back downstairs, walked into the kitchen, and said, I'll take it, with a big smile on my face, if I can get the money. One thing I really liked about the house, was each room was a separate room. It wasn't that open layout like you see in houses nowadays. I hate that. Anyway, alright. Let's go back to the office and crunch some numbers, and see what we come up with, David replied, patting me on the back. We walked out of the house, and the old lady was back again, standing on the corner, staring at the house. I didn't wave to her that time, I just got in the car, and we left. We got back to the agency. David called the bank to see if they would lower the price for me, which they did not. I then went to the funeral home, and spoke to the funeral director. His name is Ralph, by the way. Oh crap. How rude of me. I didn't introduce myself. My name is Jonathan Albright. My sister owns Millie's bookstore. What am I saying? You don't care about that, do you? I didn't think so. Anyway, I spoke to Ralph, and he agreed to lend me the rest of the money, in exchange for cutting his grass once a week, until winter came. Deal, I said. I shook his hand, and he wrote me a check. I then made a beeline back to the agency. I'm going to skip the part about dealing with the bank, and signing the papers. No one really cares about that stuff anyway, right? No, I got the keys, and the deed, then went to the electric company. I had them put the account in my name. The lady behind the desk said that the electric should be back on in about an hour. I thanked her, got back in my car, called the cable company, set up an appointment on Thursday, then went back to my trailer, packed all my clothes and toiletries, all my DVDs, and a few other things, cleaned out the refrigerator, put it all in plastic bags, and put it all in the car. Since my new house was fully furnished, I didn't need any of my old furniture, so I left it behind. Before I left, I went outside and took a picture of the trailer on my phone. I uploaded the picture, with a small description of what was included, onto that free Facebook page I mentioned earlier. Seconds later, I got a response from a guy named Jimmy. He agreed to meet me at the trailer right away. I signed it over to him, shook his hand, and left. I arrived back at the house, but did not see the old woman. I pulled in the driveway, shut the car off, and began moving my things out of the car, and up to the porch. On my last trip, I shut the back door, and began walking up to the porch. Out of the corner of my eye, yet again, I saw her, standing underneath the stop sign. I thought about calling the cops, but what was I going to tell them? An old lady is standing on a public sidewalk outside of my house. There's no crime in that. Anyway, now, I think it's time that I give you the rundown on the layout of the place. The front porch is as wide as the house, with white wooden railings, about 3 feet high, that surround it. Forest green colored lattice runs from the top of the floor to the bottom of the railing enclosing it. And a small white wooden gate stretches across the steps, opening inward toward the house. There's an old white wicker couch, with green cushions, on the left, and 2 brown wooden rocking chairs on the right, with a small brown table in the middle of them. A large macrame dual plant holder hangs from the front left corner, with 2 dead plants in it. Well, there were 2 dead plants, now I have 2 very much alive ferns growing in them. There's also a ceiling fan directly in the center of the ceiling of the porch. Anyway, when you walk in the house, you are immediately in a long hallway that leads back to the kitchen, with a half bathroom on the left, under the stairs. There's a staircase on your left leading upstairs, obviously. On your left is a huge living area, and to your right is the dining area, in the front of the house, with a huge kitchen in the back right corner of the house, with a door leading down into the basement. And another door leading out onto the back porch, which is more like a small deck. When you go up the stairs, a small bedroom sits on your left, the master bedroom, my bedroom, well, what used to be my bedroom, with a full bathroom, is directly in front of you. Down the hall to your right sits another full bathroom. And another small bedroom. The pull-down ladder to the attic is halfway down in the ceiling. The garage sits at the end of the driveway. It's a small garage, only big enough for 1 car. Anyway, back to the story. I picked up the first box, and carried it in the house, as well as the second, and the third. I walked back out to grab the TV, and I noticed that the old woman was now standing on the lawn about 20 feet away. I waved to her. "Hi, I'm Jonathan," I said. Again, she did not wave back, but she finally spoke. One word, "Robert." "No, my name is John," I began to say, as I took a step down the steps. The old woman then turned quickly and ran away, well, more like briskly walked. "Hey, I'm not gonna hurt you," I screamed, as she ran down the street. I just stood there, feeling kind of bad for her. Homeless people are still people, you know. They didn't choose that life. Life happened to them. Anyway, I carried the rest of my things in the house, one by one, shutting the front door, and locking it. I always lock my doors, not that the old woman scared me or anything. Now, I put all my clothes away in the closet, and the dresser in my bedroom, set up the TV and the DVD player in the living room, put the microwave, and the coffee pot, with all the fixings on the counter in the kitchen, and put the food in the fridge. The electric still wasn't on, so nothing worked. The food should hold until then, I thought. I then decided to wait out on the porch. And that is when it all began. It was about 4 in the afternoon. There I was, sitting on the couch on the porch. I'd been there for about 20 minutes or so, when out of the corner of my eye, wait a minute. Let me explain something here. I have what's called peripheral vision, which means I can clearly see out of the corners of my eyes, in case you're wondering why I keep saying that. Anyway, there I was, sitting on the couch, when the rocking chair on my left suddenly began to start rocking, back and forth, all by itself. I stood up, and just stared at it, in complete shock. "What the hell?" I said to the open air. Suddenly, I felt an extreme amount of air being forced down upon me. I looked up, and the ceiling fan was spinning. My shock then turned to happiness. "Yes, the electric's back on," I said to myself, forgetting all about the rocking chair, which had stopped moving at that point. Now, I know what you're thinking. The air from the ceiling fan caused the chair to move, and you would be correct, except for one thing, the chair was moving before the burst of air. Anyway, I turned off the ceiling fan, and went back in the house, and did a light check, turning off all the lights that were left on when the power was cut off. I then went to the kitchen, put on a pot of coffee, and waited for it to finish brewing. I made a cup of coffee, with cream and sugar, just how I like it, put a hot pocket in the microwave, then decided to relax the rest of the night, and watch a marathon of Freddy movies, since I now lived on the corner of Elm Street. Every town has an Elm Street, right? Anyway, I walked to the living room, sat my cup on the table, with the coaster first of course, grabbed the remote, turned the TV on, and put the first movie of the A Nightmare on Elm Street series in the DVD player, and plopped down on the couch. Number 3 is my favorite, but they're all pretty good. The microwave then beeped, I grabbed the hot pocket, sat back down on the couch, and began my marathon, making sure all the lights were turned off. Watching movies, even if you have seen them a million times, with the lights on, is pointless to me. Nothing really eventful, besides a cold draft every now and then, happened for the rest of the night. Now, about 10:30, I started getting tired. I turned off the DVD player, and the TV, and contemplated going upstairs. I made sure the front door was locked, and began walking through the dining room, on my way to the kitchen, to make sure I turned off the coffee pot, when I saw the old woman again. This time she was not standing by the stop sign. No, she was laying down, I assume sleeping, on my front lawn. That's right. My front lawn. I wanted to let her in, but decided not to even ask, since she ran from me last time. So, I just left her there. I made sure the coffee pot was off, and the back door was locked. I decided to sleep on the couch, until I could get the mattress and box spring on the bed replaced. I woke up Wednesday morning, around 7 o'clock, got a shower, got dressed for work. I had to be there at 9, went downstairs, put on a pot of coffee, and yes, I drink coffee like a fish drinks water. Anyway, I looked out of the dining room window, and she was gone again. I sat around for the next hour or so, drinking coffee, and trying to wake up. 8:30 came, I got up, walked out of the front door, got in my car, went to work, and got home around 5:30. I walked in the house, and immediately felt that something was off. I stood there just inside the door, looking around. It's just your imagination. You're in a new house, well, new to you. You've got to get used to it, that's all. I tried telling myself, and just shrugged it off. I went about my normal routine. You know, get changed, make coffee, get something to eat, drink coffee, and watch TV. The cable guy wasn't scheduled to come until the next day, so it was another movie marathon that night. This time, it was a Jesse Stone marathon. Tom Selleck plays the Jesse Stone character, a small-town police chief. There's like 6 or 7 of these movies. I've never been a big Tom Selleck fan, but these movies are good. Whoever owned the trailer before me, left them behind. So, I added them to my collection. Anyway, I turned off all the lights again, and was about halfway through Thin Ice, when the TV suddenly shut off, right at the best part. No, I screamed, fumbling for the remote on the coffee table. Suddenly, the stand-up lamp that sits in the corner of the room, came on, all by itself, scaring the shit out of me. I sat up quickly, as I watched in complete horror, as the remote control that was sitting on the coffee table, slid about 3 inches to the right, again, all by itself. I jumped. The TV then came back on, except it wasn't the Jesse Stone movie. No, it was a commercial for the funeral home I work for. The screen then scrambled a little, then went back to the movie. I was completely terrified. Nothing like that had ever happened to me before, and I work at a funeral home for God's sake. I heard about it happening, but it never happened to me. There's a ghost living in my house. Just fucking great, I thought. The light then went out, as a cold breeze blew through the living room. I had goosebumps on my arms, it was that cold. Then everything was back to normal. Fuck this, I screamed, and proceeded to turn on every single light in the house. Every single one, including the basement, and the attic. Movie time was definitely over. I thought about just getting the hell out of there, but where was I gonna go? I didn't have any money left. I used it all to buy this house, and payday wasn't until Friday. So, I was stuck. I turned off the TV, and the DVD player, then just sat there in complete silence, listening for anything out of the ordinary. I must have sat there for a good hour or so, with nothing happening. Now, what I did next, some would say, just added fuel to the fire, but I wanted answers. Now, I've heard that if you talk to a spirit and find out what they are doing there, you can help them move on. I heard that on Ghost Whisperer. But, hey, it was worth a try. I nervously stood up. I can't believe I'm doing this, I said to myself. But, what do you want? I screamed. Every light in the house then began to flash violently. I could hear some of them exploding, as what sounded like every single door in the house squeak open and slam shut, hard and fast, including the front door. I actually watched that. The sound was deafening. As the front door was opening and closing, from where I was standing, I could see little glimpses of what was outside, before the door slammed again. It was the old woman. She was screaming, but I couldn't hear what she was saying, over the slamming of the doors. I then screamed out, "Stop, stop, I'm sorry, please, stop." I fell to my knees, shaking like a leaf, leaned over, and covered my head with my arms, like we used to have to do in school, every time we had a bomb scare. Then everything just stopped, but before it did, I swear I heard a deep raspy voice in my right ear say, "Gotcha." The old woman was still screaming, but this time, I understood her perfectly. "Robert, I'm here. Robert, I'm here," she screamed, over and over again. Who the fuck is Robert? I thought. I stood up, still shaking, and yelled, "You want this house? You can have it. I'll sleep in my damn car," I screamed. I then ran out of the front door, as fast as I could, down the steps, nearly plowing over the old woman, who was now standing at the bottom of the steps. When I came out, I quickly bolted left, to avoid hitting her. I don't think I did, but I probably scared the shit out of her. She fell back on the grass, as I passed her. I stopped and turned back. "Are you okay? I'm sorry. Let me help you up," I said, panicky, extending my hand to her. A look of fear consumed her face, as she scurried around on her back, trying to get away from me. "Robert," she screamed repeatedly. "I'm not gonna hurt you," I said, loud but soothing. She then stopped squirming, and just stared at me, eyes wide, lips quivering, and breathing heavy. "I'm not gonna hurt you," I said again, and extended my hand once again. She stared at me for a few more seconds, then slowly began to raise her right hand to me. Our hands met, and interlocked. I then slowly began to pull her up. She got to her feet and said, "Jonathan." "Yes, I'm Jonathan," I replied. "It's nice to finally meet you." She smiled. "I'm Martha," she said. By that point, I had completely forgotten about the whole ghost in the house thing. "Would you like to come in? I'll make you something to eat, and get you something to drink," I said. She nodded her head. I then helped her up the steps and into the house, shutting the door behind us. "You didn't change it one bit," she said, looking around, as we made our way to the kitchen. I pulled out a chair for her at the table, and she sat down. "What do you mean, Martha?" I asked, as I heated up a TV dinner, and put on another pot of coffee. "Well," she said, "this was our house, my husband's and mine. Robert bought it for me in 1983. I love this old house. So, Robert is your husband?" I asked. "Where is he?" A little tear formed in the corner of her eye, as she said, "My Robert has gone to be with Jesus. I miss him every minute of every day. He died right upstairs in our bedroom." "He died here?" I asked. "Yes, right upstairs in bed," she replied. "That's another reason why I don't buy used mattresses." Anyway, the microwave then beeped. I took out the TV dinner, put it on a plate, grabbed a fork, and sat it down in front of her. "Thank you, Jonathan," she said with a smile. Anyway, as she ate, she continued by saying, "He was sick for some time. He always swore that even after he passed, that he would stay with me, in this house, until we could reunite once again in the pearly gates of heaven, and he did. The ghost is Robert, and he wants me out of his house." I thought. "I think Robert wants me out," I stated. "Oh, no, dear. My Robert would never want such a thing. He was a good man, a helpful man. He was quite a jokester though, used to scare the daylights out of me all the time. Even more so since he passed. I'm sure you and Robert will get along just fine together. You don't have to go," I said. "Yes, dear, I do. This is not my house anymore, it's yours. The bank made sure of that," she said. "If you don't mind me asking, what happened with the bank? Why did you have to leave?" I asked. The coffee pot then beeped. "All I have is water and coffee, Martha. Which would you like?" "I'll take a little coffee, please, cream and sugar. The doctors say I shouldn't have it, but poo on them," she said, laughing. I chuckled. "Why did you have to leave, Martha?" I asked again, as I sat the cup in front of her, and sat back down. "We were doing okay there for a while, with Robert's pension, and both our social security checks coming in. I was able to pay the bills, even after he got sick. But then my poor Robert passed, leaving me with just my social security check to pay the bills. It wasn't enough. I missed a few loan payments to the bank, and after paying religiously on this house for over 28 years, we fell behind, and they took our house. I packed all of mine and Robert's clothes, and put them in the garage. I had nowhere else to put them," she said, and began to cry. I began to tear up as well. "It's okay, Martha," I said, leaning over, and putting my arm around her. I knew there was only one thing I could do. "I'll be right back." I said, then quickly ran upstairs, grabbed the deed to the house and property from the lockbox in the closet, ran back downstairs, into the kitchen, back to the table, sat down, and handed it to her. Her eyes widened, a smile formed on her face, and a tear filled her eye. "We'll get it changed back into your name tomorrow," I said. And we did. After I told David the whole story, he was glad to help. Anyway, Martha and I sat at the table, talking and drinking coffee, for quite some time. Well, I drank coffee. Martha switched to water. At one point, the refrigerator door opened all by itself. "Hi, Robert. I love you," Martha said to the open air, then the overhead light in the kitchen flickered just once. "I've seen you before, you know," she said to me. "Really? Where?" I asked. "At the funeral home. You led me to my seat at Robert's funeral, dear," she replied. "Then why did you run from me yesterday?" I asked. "When I saw you and that other man pull into the driveway that day, I thought I recognized you, but when I saw you up close, and knew for sure it was you, all the feelings that I had on the day of Robert's funeral came rushing back. I ran to try and shake those feelings," she said. "Please stay. I don't want you to go. This is your house," I said. She smiled, and hugged me. "Will you help me carry my boxes of clothes in from the garage tomorrow?" she asked. "I sure will," I replied. "I promise." Shortly after, Martha decided to get a shower, and go to bed. I gave her one of my long t-shirts to wear. I slept on the couch in my clothes. The next day came, and I did what I promised to do. I carried all of her clothes in from the garage, and Robert helped as well. Every time I would walk up to the back door, the screen door, and the back door would open all by themselves. "Thanks, Robert," I said, every time. After we were done, I asked Martha if she would like to donate Robert's clothes to the local Goodwill store. I had to explain what it was, and she agreed, keeping only a few pieces of clothing for personal reasons. I loaded them in the backseat and the trunk of my car. We dropped them off, and then went to go see David. All three of us then went to the bank, and had the deed changed over. Martha and I went home after that. She invited me to stay, and I accepted. I moved all of my things out of the master bedroom, and moved to the bedroom down the hall. I bought a new mattress and box spring when I got paid. I had a hell of a time carrying them up and down the stairs. I also replaced all the lights that blew out during Robert's little show. Anyway, I decided to leave the electric in my name, and pay for it, as well as buy all the food. Martha eats like a bird. I, however, eat my share, and then some. Martha is a great cook. She's even teaching me a few things. Robert still plays his little tricks every now and then. You know, turning on lights, opening and shutting doors, moving stuff, things like that. I think I caught a glimpse of him, standing behind Martha in their bedroom as I passed by, right before I started recording this. Martha and I get along really well. She has someone to talk to, and I have someone to watch movies with, and to go bargain shopping with. It's great. She doesn't have to worry about dealing with the bank anymore, and her and Robert can be together in this house, until they are reunited once again, and when that happens, she said she's leaving the house to me. Well, I gotta get to bed, guys. I gotta go cut Ralph's grass in the morning. A deal's a deal, right? Oh yeah. By the way, the cable guy never showed up. That's okay though. I called and had DirecTV installed. They came the same day. Martha and I are going to watch a Golden Girls marathon on the Lifetime channel tomorrow night. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.